soon as we have two more members arrive, we'll get started. We have to have a quorum here before we do. We'll note Richard Hanna from New York just entered the room. We just need one more. And the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Bratt, has just given us a quorum. So we thank his attendance, and we thank everyone for being here today. Good morning. Quorum being present, I call this meeting of the Small Business Committee to order. The federal government spends nearly $500 billion through prime contracts each year. In 2014, the combined prime and subcontracting awards to small businesses exceeded $173 billion, roughly 39% of all contract dollars spent. As a committee, we've worked to ensure that these contracts are awarded appropriately so we can maximize small business competition, growth, job creation, innovation, and ultimately lower prices for the American taxpayer. Last year, our first markup was on contracting legislation, and I'm pleased to report that almost all of those provisions are now law. However, there is more work to be done. Over the past year, this committee has been looking closely at issues that are keeping small businesses from competing. As a result, 15 of our members have introduced contracting reform bills, and we'll have a number of amendments here this morning, the committee and I have had an opportunity to review them all, and we're inclined to support most, if not all of them, so this has truly been a bipartisan effort. I think this may be unprecedented. This means that 2/3 of the members of this committee directly contributed to this bill. I want to thank you all for your hard work on both sides of the aisle, and especially want to thank Congressman Richard Hanna and Mark Takei, who, as the chairman and ranking member of the Subcommittee on Contracting and Workforce, held many hearings on these issues. The bills introduced by our members all relate to those hearings. Working closely with our colleagues, Ranking Member Velasquez and I collected these solid common sense reforms, plus many other legislative provisions, into H.R. 4341, the Defending America's Small Contractors Act of 2016, the bill that we're considering here this morning. I believe that by marking up this bill today, we'll be taking an important step to increase small business participation in federal contracting. The legislation we're marking up today really is a collection of bipartisan common sense reforms. H.R. 4341 improves small contracting in 5 important ways. First, it modernizes the Small Business Act and the SBA's reporting requirements to ensure that the language used is clear and consistent across federal procurement programs while producing the data needed for good policymaking. Second, it strengthens the small business advocates within SBA and other federal agencies to promote competition and compliance. Third, it improves opportunities for small businesses to compete for subcontracts and then to capitalize on that experience to compete as prime contractors, thereby strengthening the industrial base. Fourth, this act improves coordination and data sharing between the SBA's government-wide mentoring protege program, civilian agency mentor protege programs, and the mentor protege program at the Department of Defense. Finally, The bill implements common sense reforms to ensure integrity in small business programs, such as the agricultural size standards, veterans contracting programs, SBA operations, and contracting officer training programs. I'm pleased that we've been able to come together to work on these important issues in such a bipartisan manner, and I now want to recognize the ranking member, Ms. Velasquez, who has been an integral part of making sure that this has been bipartisan, for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we all know, the federal marketplace spends almost $500 billion on goods and services every year. It has long been our goal on this committee to ensure that small businesses are included in the government supply chain and awarded their fair share of contracting dollars. However, as we have heard in various hearings held over the past year, there remain a number of issues that not only skew the small business contracting goals, but in some instances make it harder for small businesses to win federal work. Over years, we have seen the value of small business contracts go up, enabling agencies to meet their goals, while at the same time, the number of contractors has dwindled. In the last 4 years, the number of contractors registered to do business with the federal government has decreased by approximately 100,000 firms. More needs to be done to make it easier for small businesses to contract with the federal government. And not only small businesses win, but also taxpayers. That is why I'm glad that the committee could work on this bipartisan bill to address some of the issues small firms face in the federal marketplace. The legislation we are marking up today is a compilation of several bills authored by our members. Provisions of this bill increase transparency in agency goals so that there is an accurate picture of dollars awarded to firms. Additionally, there are several measures that clarify the language of the Small Business Act, making it easier for contracting officers and small businesses to not only understand, but also to implement and comply with the law. Through this bill, we are also working to ensure that the responsibilities and duties of those charged with helping small businesses navigate the procurement system are clearly defined. We are supplying these advocates with tools necessary to aid small businesses competing for both prime contracts and subcontracts. The landscape of the federal marketplace is evolving, with agencies moving to strategic sourcing vehicles and other larger procurement vehicles. We must ensure that small businesses are not left at the wayside, and that Congress implements measures that will enable small businesses to effectively compete for federal work. That is what this bill does today. I want to thank all the members for their contributions to this bill. Additionally, I also want to thank the chairman and ranking member of the Contracting and Workforce Subcommittee, Mr. Hanna and Mr. Takai. Last year, their panel held numerous hearings to determine what areas most needed reform. I also want to thank the Chairman Chabot. He has set an example of what a good legislative product is all about. It's about compromising, it's about recognizing the right of the minority to contribute to the legislative process. Mr. Chairman, this bill exemplifies what this committee can accomplish when we work in a bipartisan manner. It is my hope that as we kick off this new session of Congress, we continue on this path and find additional ways to help small business grow, flourish, and create jobs in our local communities. With that, I thank you and yield back.
Thank you very much. Gentlelady yields back. Are there any other members who seek recognition for the purpose of making an opening statement? Okay, if not, we will now move to consideration of H.R. 4341. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
A bill to amend the Small Business Act to improve transparency and clarity for small businesses, to clarify the role
Without
of small...
objection, H.R. 4341 is considered read and open for amendment at any point.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have an amendment at the desk.
Okay, excuse me just one moment.
Sure.
I'm going to suggest that we go in the order of the amendments being filed, assuming members are present. The one exception is the technical amendment I'm offering, which will be considered last, and I'll now yield to the gentlelady for the purpose of making an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is simple. It lays out the duties of the business opportunity.
Excuse me, just let me interrupt one particular moment. Would the clerk report the amendment?
Amendment to H.R. 4341, offered by Ms. Velasquez of New York.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
This amendment is simple, straightforward. It lays out the duties of the business opportunity specialist. The language, which was originally introduced by Representative Maxine Waters, clarifies the roles and responsibilities of this small business advocate. Like the commercial market representatives, these personnel play a vital function in helping small businesses navigate the federal marketplace. However, they are not defined in the Small Business Act, and as such, many of their duties have been set out in SOPs rather than by statute. This amendment will not only put these advocates on par with their counterparts, but also by more clearly defining their duties, the committee will be better able to oversee the business opportunity specialist and ensure they are held accountable for their performance. Therefore, I urge my colleagues to support this amendment.
Thank you. Gentlelady yields back. Are there any other members who seek to be heard on this particular amendment? Okay. If there's no further discussion on the amendment, allow me to thank the gentlelady for her amendment. By providing statutory clarity to the role of the business opportunity specialists, we can do a better job managing this program and cracking down on those who seek to abuse the program. I'm happy to support the amendment. The question is on the amendment, Amendment 1, offered by Ranking Member Velasquez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 2 to H.R. 4341, offered by Ms. Lawrence of Michigan.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, under the statute, the Chief Information Officer is to perform certain analysis of information technology purchases and investments and report this information to the Office of Management and Budget. My amendment would simply require that they also deliver the information to the Senate Committee on Small Businesses and Entrepreneurship and to the Committee on Small Business of the House of Representatives within 10 days. In doing so, it would aid the committee's oversight of information, technology, and cybersecurity at the Small Business Administration. I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of this amendment, and I yield back my time.
Thank you. Gentlelady yields back. Are there any other members on either side of the aisle who seek recognition? If not, I'll recognize myself. The gentlelady wants to. Yeah, gentlelady is recognized. 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of Representative Lawrence's amendment, and I want to thank her for offering it. By receiving this information from the Small Business Administration, the committee can ensure that the agency's IT system are best serving our small businesses. This will also help assure us that there are sufficient security measures in place to protect their proprietary information. I ask my fellow members to support this amendment, and as we saw from the hearing that we conducted with GAO, this is an important issue, and I'm glad that Ms. Lawrence is introducing this amendment.
Thank you. Gentlelady yields back. Gentlelady's time has expired. If there's no further discussion on the amendment, allow me to thank the gentlelady for her amendment. As we heard last week, there are serious information technology and cybersecurity issues at the SBA. We heard that in the testimony over the last week, both from the GAO and from the administrator and from other members. And this amendment will allow the committee to conduct stronger oversight of these issues and better serve our small businesses. And this committee obviously has oversight, so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can in that area. And as chair, I'm happy to support the amendment. The question is on the amendment, amendment number 2, offered by Congresswoman Lawrence. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, I have an
And
amendment.
the gentleman from Hawaii, Mr. Takai, is recognized.
Yes, Mr.
For
Chairman,
what
good morning.
purpose does the gentleman
I
seek
have a-
recognition?
I have an amendment laying on the desk.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 3 to H.R. 4341, offered by Mr. Takai of Hawaii.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning and aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. My amendment is very simple. It will allow mentor firms in the DoD Mentorship Protege Program to enable protege firms needing additional assistance to access women business centers. This will make it easier for women-owned small businesses participating in the program to get specialized assistance needs. Mentor protege programs arrange relationships between experienced contractors and inexperienced small businesses to provide them business development assistance. As we make changes to the program in this bill, I think my amendment makes perfect sense. The Patsy T. Mink Center for Business and Leadership is an SBA Women's Business Center in Honolulu located in my district. I had the opportunity to visit the center earlier this year with the SBA administrator and heard from countless women and entrepreneurs how assistance coming from the center helped them grow and start their business. One constant request that I have heard is how to expand federal resources available to women-owned small businesses, and I believe that expanding technical assistance for the Mentor Protege Program to women business centers will serve as a way to increase opportunities for small businesses that are participating in the SBA and DoD programs. Expansion of this program to women business centers is, in addition to small business development centers, procurement technical assistance centers, and educational institutions which have this opportunity already. Again, my amendment will make it easier for small businesses to get specialized assistance they may need, and I strongly urge its adoption. I yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. Do other members on either side seek recognition?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Rank members recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to thank the gentleman for this amendment. I am glad that you have been able to rejoin us and continue the work you started on the Contracting and Workforce Subcommittee. This amendment ensures that proteges have the option of selecting who they go to when seeking contracting assistance. In many communities, a women's business center is the closest and best option for a small firm. Entrepreneurs in this area should be able to tap into WBC resources as part of their Mentor Protege program. I applaud Mr. Takai for offering this amendment, and I ask my colleagues to support it. I yield back.
Thank you. The gentlelady yields back. Do any other members on either side seek any recognition? If not, I want to thank the gentleman for his amendment and tell him how good it is to have him back. We're all with you and praying for you and pulling for you, and you know, God bless you, and thanks for being here and working so hard on our committee. We certainly appreciate it. When mentors are referring their protege firms for specific assistance, the mentor and protege should have the option of choosing the best assistance program, whether that is a small business development center, procurement technical assistance center, women's business center, or an educational institution. Therefore, I'm happy to support this amendment. And the question is on amendment number 3, offered by the gentleman from Hawaii, Mr. Takai. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman,
You
I
wanna
have
give
an
a-
amendment on the desk.
The gentlelady, for what purposes, you have an amendment at the desk?
Yes.
Okay. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 5 to H.R. 4341, offered by Ms. Hahn of California.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Shabbat and Ranking Member Velasquez, for working with me on this important amendment. We all know that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and as the world's largest buyer of products and services, it is the government's responsibility to ensure that our historically disadvantaged small businesses, such as women-owned and minority-owned businesses, have the resources and access to capital they need to succeed. As we all know, the federal government requires that 23% of all contracts go to small businesses, but there is a loophole which this amendment can close. Small business procurement requirements are unclear. This goal is not being applied to task order contracts. Considering that last year the government spent over $226 billion on task order contracts, we should make sure that small businesses are given priority and able to compete for them as well. My amendment would add task order contracts to the small business procurement requirements. This will ensure that women-owned and minority-owned small businesses now have an equal playing field for all federal contracts and are not missing out on billions of dollars in business. I urge all of my colleagues to support my amendment, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Are there other members that seek recognition? The gentleman from Iowa is recognized. Mr.
Mr.
King.
Chairman, move to strike the last word.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to support the gentlelady's amendment. I wanted to make the point that we do want to have equal opportunity and equal access for everyone, whatever their gender is and whatever their ethnicity might be. I just wanted to point out into the record that I have dealt with this for a long time as a small business owner that we started back in 1975, and I have a great lot of scars in my background about the times that the contracts were set aside for a woman-owned business or for a minority-owned business, and I was disqualified from competing for many of those contracts. So as much as we want it to be equal, it's not going to be equal as long as we have those programs, and that I just wanted to point out those exceptions to the gentlelady's statement that we want to have it equal, but there's going to be exceptions there that make sure that there's guaranteed access for woman-owned business and minority-owned businesses. So it's just a technicality in the record, but it's a reality I've had to live with, and I support the gentlelady's amendment. I wanted to add that comment so we have a broader perspective on where we sit with this contracting business. Thank you.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired. Do any other
Mr.
members
Chairman.
seek recognition? The gentlelady, again
Thank
from New York,
you.
is recognized.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank Representative Fahan for offering this amendment. Definitely, we need to make sure that taxpayers' money are well protected and that we level the playing field and we look at diversity as a way to increase competition throughout the federal government. We have seen time and again that is not the case. And as noted in my opening statement, we have seen agencies moving away from traditional one-time contracts to larger multiple award contracts and indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. For this procurement, agencies purchase goods and services through task orders. As such, it is vital that small businesses receive their fair share of purchases made through tax orders. I support the passage of this amendment, and I encourage my fellow members to do the same. I yield back.
Okay. The gentlelady yields back. Do any other members seek recognition on either side? Okay. If there's no further discussion on the amendment, allow me to thank the gentlelady for her amendment. Given that the federal government spent over $226 billion using task orders last year, it makes sense to be explicit that a task order is considered part of a contract for purposes of the Small Business Act. This will require contracting agencies to consider whether task orders can be structured to improve opportunities for small business competition, something we all support. Therefore, I'm happy to support the amendment. And the question is on amendment number 5, offered by Congresswoman Hahn. The clerk will call the roll. Excuse me. The question is on, all those in favor say aye. I'm thinking of 3 things up here and messing things up. I apologize. All those in favor say aye again. Aye. Any opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.
We double had it. We did.
There we go. And do any other members seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
Oh, you're next after this. Who is next? Let's make sure we got this right. What do we got here? Yeah, we do have Chu. Okay. Okay, excuse me. For what purposes the gentlelady seek recognition?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 6 to H.R. 4341, offered by Ms. Chu of California.
Okay. Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I applaud the committee's efforts to clarify and update the requirements for small business procurements originally codified in the Small Business Act. The NICE code has an enormous impact on small businesses that are already contracting or hoping to contract with the federal government, and it is critical that these size standards accurately reflect the makeup of the industries they are defining. My common sense amendment would authorize the Small Business Administration to create additional industry groups to more accurately reflect the manner in which federal government buys. This would allow for more accurate categorizations, ensuring that small businesses are able to compete on a fair playing field for the contracting dollars they deserve. I ask for the committee's support, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Do any other members seek recognition to be heard on the amendment? Gentlelady from New York is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As we have seen on numerous occasions, one size standard does not fit all industries. As certain sectors in technology and other areas become increasingly complex, it becomes more important that the SBA standards reflect these changes in the marketplace. As such, it is critical that SBA have the flexibility to create additional standards so small firms can continue receiving their fair share of federal contracts. I support this amendment, and I thank the gentlelady for bringing and tackling this issue that is so important to provide a federal a level playing field for all small businesses in all industries. And I yield back.
Thank you. The gentlelady yields back. Do any other members seek recognition? If there's no further discussion on the amendment, allow me to thank the gentlelady for her amendment. Government buying patterns don't always adhere to the normal industry categories used by SBA, and her amendment will make it clear that additional size standards may be created, if appropriate, for industries like cybersecurity. Therefore, I'm very pleased to support the amendment. And the question is on Amendment 6, offered by Congresswoman Chu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. For what purpose does the gentleman from Iowa seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Okay, the clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 7 to H.R.
Without objection, the
4341.
amendment is considered as read, and the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In looking over my amendment, I'd ask unanimous consent to make a technical correction to the amendment on line 5 and strike the word construction and replace it with the word procurement. It makes the amendment a broader amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you. And so this amendment, it comes out of, I'll just say, some experience of watching what goes on not only in the contracting business but in the procurement business. And occasionally we will have the bonding requirements waived in such a way that people who are not financially responsible end up with a contract award and they're unable then to perform the contract. And so this amendment simply calls for a GAO study to evaluate the bonding and the results of bonding and what the whether they're positive or negative, and when there's a waiver to a bond, so that we can take a look at this and hopefully in a year or so come back to the topic and clean it up a little bit. So I urge adoption of my amendment, and I would yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. Do any other members seek recognition?
Yes,
The
Mr.
gentlelady from
Chairman.
New York is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I support this amendment. I am always in favor of bringing greater transparency to the procurement process. This amendment will take a thorough look at the bonding process and, importantly, how some contractors receive waivers from federal bonding requirements. I think this information could be useful to this committee and Congress when we perform future legislative work on contracting issues. I am interested in seeing the results of the GAO's analysis. As such, I support the amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you. The gentlelady yields back. Do any other members seek recognition? If there's no further discussion on the amendment, allow me to thank the gentleman for his amendment. Surety bonds help ensure the taxpayers get what they pay for and that small businesses are paid when a federal prime contractor is unable to complete a project. I think a study into when and why we are waiving the use of these bonds makes sense, so I'm very pleased to support the gentleman's amendment and thank him for offering it. And the question now is on the amendment number 7 offered by Congressman King. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. At this time, I have an amendment at the desk, and the clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 4 to H.R. 4341, offered by Mr. Shabbat of Ohio.
The amendment will be considered as read. And I recognize myself for 5 minutes, but won't use the full 5 minutes, obviously, as my colleagues have also been following this morning, and we appreciate that greatly. This amendment is a collection of technical corrections such as consolidating definitions into Section 3 of the Small Business Act, changing the paragraph to this paragraph, and making sure that conventions for headings in the Act are kept consistent. Therefore, I ask that the committee adopt the amendment. And does anyone else wish to be heard on that? The
Yes,
gentlelady from New York is
Mr. Chairman,
recognized.
I want to thank you for this amendment. I also want to thank you for the work that we collectively, but especially you, put into this bill, and the fact that we work together. I'm glad we could collaborate on this bipartisan legislation to help our small businesses in the federal marketplace. This amendment makes technical corrections, and I am happy to support it. I yield back.
Thank you very much. The gentlelady yields back. Does any other member seek recognition? If there's no further discussion on the amendment, I again urge the committee to adopt these technical corrections, and the question is on this amendment, which I offered. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. Now we will move on to passage of the bill, unless there are any further amendments to be offered. Hearing no further amendments.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
would you yield?
Yes, I yield to the gentlelady.
Yes, please. Thank you. I want to thank the chairman and all the members on both sides of the aisle for working together and producing such a comprehensive bipartisan bill. I look forward to continue to work with you. Finally, I just would like to take this opportunity to recognize two staffers who should be very much congratulated for their hard work on this: Eminence Norcott and of my staff, and Emily Murphy of the chairman's staff. Thank you both, and I yield back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much, and we appreciate all the members' attention. The attendance and participation is very excellent this morning, as it normally is on this committee, so thank you very much. So no further amendments at this time. The question is now on H.R. 4341 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and H.R. 4341 as amended is agreed to. And without objection, a quorum being present, the bill as amended is favorably reported to the House. Without objection, the committee staff is authorized to correct punctuation and to make other necessary technical corrections and conforming changes. Without objections, members shall be entitled to 2 days to file additional supplemental and dissenting minority views. And on that note, I want to again thank both the majority and minority members of this committee, and the ranking member in particular. I want to thank all the staff on both sides of the aisle. Thank all the folks that attended here today, all those watching on television, my wife, my kids, and everybody out there for this crack markup. And if there's no further business to come before this committee, we're adjourned. Thank you. I forgot to mention our grandchild, too, so.